all that, but the only thing that I can say is I'm 10 steps ahead of him. Like, I'm 10 steps ahead of him in smarts.
Yeah, we ain't worried about retired. We focus on tasking.
Following Boots' victory over Xander Zayas, pound-for-pound champion Terence Crawford has blasted the fighter, claiming how he will always be better than any version of Boots Ennis. Meanwhile, the feud reignited when Terence Crawford posted a cryptic message on social media shortly after Boots Ennis's victory over Xander Zayas, stating that he would keep his comments to himself, but implying that others would understand what he meant. Coming immediately after the fight, led many to believe it was a subtle jab at Ennis's performance, as Crawford appeared to suggest that he had seen flaws in Ennis's game that had gone unpunished. He made it clear that he was not openly criticizing, but wanted his point to be understood. In his tweet, Bud wrote, "I'ma keep my comments to myself, but y'all get it, I hope." Terence clarified his situation and acknowledged Boots as a tremendous talent and a legitimate threat to anyone in the ring, praising his speed, power, defense, and reflexes. He made it clear, however, that he believes he holds a significant advantage in ring intelligence, claiming to be 10 steps ahead of Ennis, mentally, and suggested that Ennis's aggressive, forward-moving style would play into his hands, as his superior counterpunching and sharpness would expose openings. Bud also emphasized that while he respects Ennis's abilities, he sees himself as the superior fighter.
The competitive nature in myself, but I don't worry about coming back to prove anything, because me coming back and proving something to people that it doesn't matter, what never matters, for that being, they would say, oh, well, he only Xander, or they'll come up with some type of excuse, but to credit Boots, like, he's a tremendous talent and he's no walk in the park for no one, so he's a threat to anyone that he stepped foot in the ring with. He got tremendous speed, he got great power, defense, reflexes, all that, but the only thing that I can say is I'm 10 steps ahead of him.
Crawford also firmly stated that he is retired and has no intention of returning to the ring despite the growing buzz around Boots. He congratulated Ennis on his success and declared that it is now Ennis's era to shine, and emphasized that he is happily retired and not motivated by outside opinions or comparisons. He has made it clear that he has nothing left to prove and is at peace with his decision. Crawford wished Ennis nothing but the best in his career moving forward.
You saying never?
Never. I'm retired. I'm happily retired. It's Boots' era. I pray and hope that, he take it to the extreme. I pray nothing but success for him and his family, and all in all, it's all about competitiveness, and people want to see, this generation, how would they do with the previous generation? The same way with people comparing me to Floyd. We'll never fight, so I wish him nothing but the best. I want to see him succeed.
However, Boots dismissed Crawford's comments, stating that he is not concerned about retired fighters and is focused on taking over the division. He, along with his father, made it clear that Crawford had already made his statement by retiring and should enjoy his family rather than commenting on current fighters. Ennis emphasized that he did not care who made statements about him, as his priority was continuing to win and dominate, and suggested that Crawford's comments were irrelevant to his current path, as his focus remained on the fighters in front of him rather than those who had already left the sport.
A tweet right after the fight. Any response to Terence Crawford, who had something to say?
Yeah, we ain't worried about retired. We focus on tasking. Taking over this division. We ain't worried about retired fighters.
Yeah, y'all keep on throwing Terence up. Terence, he retired. You leave Terence alone. Let him do what he's supposed to do. Have fun and enjoy his family.
Boot.
He made a statement. Who that?
Blood made a statement.
All of them. I don't care who makes the statement. I'm just telling you like it is.
Repeating his thoughts, Bozy Ennis dismissed questions about a potential matchup between Boots and Crawford. refusing to entertain hypotheticals about a retired fighter. He stated that he would not discuss Crawford because he was no longer active, emphasizing that his focus remained on current opponents. Bozy made it clear that his attention was on the fighters in the present rather than those who had already left the sport, and suggested that discussing Crawford would be a waste of time given his retirement.
At this weight, do you believe that would have done something similar to what he done to Xander Zayas tonight? How would that fight have played out? I know it's hypothetical.
But you asked me about Terence. Terence retired, man. So I don't even want to talk about Terence. He's a retired fighter, man. I don't even want to talk about that. We talking about the one that's present, man. How you feel?
Shakur Stevenson weighed in on the growing tension between Boots Ennis and Terence Crawford, offering a balanced perspective that sought to de-escalate the situation. He acknowledged Boots as a genuine throwback fighter who, despite getting caught with a clean shot, immediately went into finishing mode. Stevenson also praised Crawford as one of the realest individuals he had ever met, refusing to take sides in the brewing feud. He made it clear that he respected both fighters and did not want to fuel unnecessary conflict. Stevenson's comments appeared aimed at cooling tensions rather than adding to the fire. In his tweet regarding Ennis, Shakur wrote, "Boots the real deal always been, he got hit with a good shot and went straight to seek and destroy mode. Real throwback fighter." In support of his longtime mentor, Shakur tweeted, "Bud one of the realest MFS I ever met, no BS." Expressing his thoughts on Boots and his rivalry with Terence, Danny Garcia weighed in on a potential showdown between the two fighters, expressing doubt that Crawford would return to the ring for it, describing the matchup as a brief fight, framing it as a young, hungry lion going against the OG master. Garcia also acknowledged the intrigue of the clash, but seemed skeptical about it actually happening. He made it clear that while the fight would be compelling, he did not see Crawford coming out of retirement to make it. Just like various other analysts and even Bid himself, Garcia left the door open for the possibility, but remained unconvinced.
Are we going to see Crawford come out for it or not?
I don't know. I doubt it.
Yeah.
You know, because Crawford, Crawford's Crawford. You know, so.
Is that still a tough fight to call?
What, them two?
Yeah.
That's a great fight. Great fight. Young, hungry lion versus the master, the OG master.
Yeah.
On the other hand, being a renowned boxing analyst and reporter, Bernie the Boxer broke down Boots' pursuit of Crawford, questioning why Ennis had not pushed harder for the fight. He noted that Ennis stepped aside to let Crawford fight Errol Spence, and then waited for a rematch that never materialized, costing him valuable time, arguing that if Ennis truly wanted Crawford, he should have demanded the IBF enforce his mandatory status, rather than allowing the organization to strip Crawford. He further suggested Ennis's team had been too passive, waiting years instead of forcing the issue.
So infrequently, they fight less. You know, they're not gonna. It's not gonna be immediate. It's not gonna be. So, let's say they fight. How much do you think the time would be for the rematch to happen? Because, like I said, it was a huge fight, right? Errol Spence, had he won, he's gonna be enjoying himself as well, right? It's not going right in there to fight Crawford again. Actually, they're gonna be trying to get rid of Crawford after that. Like, we didn't want you anyway, and Errol Spence beat you, so there goes that hype. Well, all right, so, okay. Okay, but let's just say, so they got a rematch clause. It's in the contract. They got to fight. When did you think that was going to happen?
Being more blunt, Bernie criticized the WBC's recent comments about Terence, dismissing the organization as corrupt and comparing its president to shady politicians. He questioned why Crawford would need to rematch Canelo after already dominating him, stating Crawford had nothing left to prove, emphasizing that fighters should not rely on sanctioning bodies to validate greatness, insisting real champions know who the best is. He suggested the WBC was trying to extort money from Crawford by demanding fees for titles he did not even fight for. Bernie made it clear he had no respect for the organization's leadership or its motives.
Like I'm saying, he like the Donald Trump of the boxing organizations right now. Just say
that Canelo rematch was there.
What are we gonna do? Stop him this time? Stop him? I mean, there's no more joy. Why do we need to beat him again? We beat him so handily. for the money. He not moved by the money. He got the money. Been getting the money. Been getting the money. Got the money. What are you gonna do for it? You think Canelo really want that? No. No. No, I ain't knocking Canelo, but you think he want to go through that again? No. Crawford know everything about him now. Download everything. Like I say, ain't no blueprint to beat Crawford.
However, regardless of the criticism, Zittel expressed a strong interest in their potential matchup, calling it the fight he wanted most when Crawford was still active, suggesting Crawford's sophistication and ring intelligence would be the difference, despite similar athletic gifts. Zittel noted Crawford threw shade at Ennis after the Zayas fight, indicating he was still watching closely. He predicted Ennis's speed and power would make him a threat, but questioned whether his defensive lapses would be exposed by Crawford. Talking about the commercial value, Zittel emphasized that the matchup would be a classic shootout if it ever materialized.
And it's like, I wouldn't have asked it if he didn't say anything. If Terence in the post fight or on Twitter just said, "Hey, congrats to Boots, great fight, great job," then the question I still would have asked would have been, you know, Terence gave you some props. What do you think of him giving you props? But he threw some shade, and this is between them. And Bozy and Jaron shut it down right away. He's retired. We're not here to talk about retired fighters. But Crawford couldn't help himself. He talked. The problem for Ennis in that matchup was always, and I've done this comparison, like Terence is Kobe Bryant and Jaron Ennis is Vince Carter or Tracy McGrady. Same kind of build, can do all the same kind of things, but there's a little sophistication to the skill set of Kobe Bryant that separated him from his two peers that were just as talented, just as tall, could jump just as high, maybe a little higher than he could. And it was the sophistication to his skill set, right?
Moving on, Sean observed that Ennis's showing vulnerability against Zayas actually worked in his favor, as it convinced his future opponents, such as Virgil Ortiz and Sebastian Fundora, that they could beat him, likely accelerating those fights. He noted that if Ennis had blown Zayas out early, those opponents might have been more hesitant. Zittel emphasized that Ennis's willingness to exchange and take risks made him one of the most exciting fighters in the sport, and concluded that Ennis's future opponents would now be more eager to step up and face him.
Making it a fight, giving him a scare, he provided enough resistance that you actually got to give him credit for beating a quality 23-year-old champion. So it actually helped him in that regard. And then the other way it helped him is now Virgil Ortiz and Fundora think they could whoop his ass. And if he had just blown him out in 2 rounds, then he didn't. He showed enough vulnerability that the other guys will jump at the opportunity to fight him, as they should. If you're Virgil Ortiz or Fundora, you think you knock him out if you're landing those same shots. Maybe you do. So you'll actually probably get the fight sooner rather than later. Not have to wait an excruciatingly long time. So, and it makes it fun to watch.
Meanwhile, expressing his views, Shannon Sharp reflected on Ennis's performance, acknowledging that he had put on a show and established himself as a 2-division champion. He noted that Ennis's aggressive style made for great entertainment, but raised concerns about his defense against bigger punchers at a 160 or 168 pounds. Sharp suggested Ennis would need to tighten up defensively as he moved up in weight, where opponents hit much harder, and though he praised Ennis's composure and boxing pedigree, he emphasized that his future success would depend on his ability to adapt his defense while staying aggressive.
Boots looked unbelievable. Had him on the show, he seemed, you know, you guys, we talked to him. He seemed so hey, composed, like, not even words said. He had a great camp. Everything was trending in the right direction. No massive cuts. It didn't have to do anything extraordinary. Just go in there and be Boots tonight. And that was plenty. That was, man, I'm like, Xander, bro. Oh, I can honestly say, I don't know if I've ever seen somebody get hit with that many leads. Clean. To start, I mean, as the fight wanes, got it. Guy's tired, and you taking some punishment. You got, one of the eyes are closed. You got a bad cut. It's bleeding. But Ocho, in the first damn round, you're supposed to be enjoying a little precious.
Boots came out aggressive, huh?
Talking about next fights for Boots, Teddy Atlas considered a potential showdown between him and Virgil Ortiz, noting that Ortiz had surprised many by showing a new dimension in his last fight, where he used his legs and boxed effectively, rather than just seeking knockouts. He suggested that Ortiz's improved versatility made him a more well-rounded threat than previously thought. Atlas expressed that Ortiz's ability to adapt and box would present Ennis with a different kind of challenge, stating that Ortiz's evolution as a fighter made the matchup intriguing. Atlas also stressed that he would be interested to see how Ennis handled a fighter who could both box and brawl.
I'd sign up to watch either one of those. If it's Ortiz, it'll be, it could be a phone booth fight. Two good body punches. Two confident guys, two guys with great heart. Look, I say this, Virgil showed me a few fights ago that he had a dimension I didn't know he had. When he was just, going through guys, knocking them out with body shots, seeking and destroying. I don't think I knew or anyone knew that he had the ability to use his legs and box and do some boxing. He showed me that dimension. He showed me that dimension in that fight that some people thought he lost. First fight that he got tested. We didn't get a knockout.
Shifting to the other name, Teddy analyzed Boots versus Sebastian Fundora, describing Fundora as a relentless pressure fighter who constantly moves forward behind a stiff jab and throws in high volume. He noted that Fundora's height and reach would make him a target for Ennis's accurate punching, but cautioned that Ennis would need to be wary of Fundora's bodywork and combination punching. Atlas pointed out that Fundora's aggressive style could pose problems if Ennis was not prepared for the constant pressure. He praised Ennis's precision and ability to find openings, but warned that Fundora's awkwardness and size would make the fight a tough test.
Fundora. He's learning how to fight tall a little bit better. He is, a little better. But still, he is coming after you behind that jab. He doesn't stop. I don't know what his punch numbers are. They got to go through the roof. I think he jabs in his sleep. I think that he's, like if you went in and you peeked in on him when he's sleeping like this. With that southpaw jab. He's coming out of the locker room. I think when he's eating dinner. He never stops. He don't leave you alone. And he's coming forward. He's always putting pressure. He's breaking you down. And then he puts punches together nice. He goes to the body. He throws uppercuts. He puts them together real well. But he's tall and he's a target. And, when he fights tall, it's a little tougher, but he's going to pressure.
So in the end, one side believes that Boots Ennis's thrilling victory over Xander Zayas, complete with adversity and a dramatic finish, has finally proven that he belongs among boxing's pound-for-pound elite, and that his combination of power, speed, and entertainment value makes him the future face of the sport. The other side argues that the vulnerabilities he showed could be exploited by sharper punchers like Terence Crawford or Virgil Ortiz, leaving his reign at 154 far from secure. What we do know is that Ennis has unified the division, silenced many of his doubters, and put the entire junior middleweight class on notice, while Crawford has fired cryptic shots from retirement, and Ortiz has already threatened to sleep him. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like and subscribe for more boxing news and analysis.